Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the zero gravity of her small research station, carefully examining the crystal object in her hands. The artifact was no bigger than her fist, but it held secrets that could change everything. She had been studying objects like this one for 3 years, ever since the mining company found them buried deep in an asteroid. The crystal was beautiful. It caught the light from her work lamps and threw rainbow patterns across the metal walls of her lab. Most scientists who looked at these crystals thought they were just pretty decorations left behind by an ancient alien race called the progenitors. The progenitors had disappeared millions of years ago, leaving behind only ruins and these crystal objects. Elena was different from other scientists. She did not just look at the pretty colors in the crystal. She looked deeper. She had spent months learning how to read the patterns of light inside each crystal. Today, she finally understood what she was seeing. The patterns were not random. They were mathematical equations. Very complex mathematical equations that described how space and time worked. Elena's heart beat faster as she realized what this meant. The equations showed a way to travel faster than light without using the massive energy that current technology required. Elena had been alone on her research station for 6 months. The station, called Kepler's Dream, orbited a dead planet at the edge of human space. She chose to work alone because she could focus better without other people around. Now she was glad to be alone. What she had discovered was too important to share with just anyone. She moved to her computer and began typing a report. She described the mathematical patterns she found and what they might mean. She knew that the Galactic Council would receive her report, but she doubted they would take it seriously. Humans were still new members of galactic society. Most alien races saw humans as useful workers, but not as serious scientists. The Galactic Council was run by 3 powerful alien races. The Zephyrians were tall, thin beings with blue skin and large eyes. They had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The Nexari were insect-like creatures that could link their minds together. They were the best at organizing and managing large projects. The Vorthak were an ancient race that looked like walking trees. They had been exploring space since before humans learned to use fire. All 3 races agreed on one thing. Humans were too young and too primitive to make important scientific discoveries. Humans had only been part of galactic society for 200 years. That was nothing compared to the thousands of years the other races had been traveling between stars. Elena sent her report to the Galactic Council and waited. She continued working with the crystals while she waited for their response. She found more equations hidden in the light patterns. These new equations were even more amazing than the first ones. They described ways to bend space and time that would make travel across the galaxy almost instant. 2 weeks later, Elena received the Council's response. It was signed by Technarch Zeph-Hai, the most important Zephyrian scientist in the galaxy. Elena read the message with growing anger. The human researcher has submitted a report claiming to have decoded progenitor artifacts, the message said. After review by our experts, we find these claims to be without merit. The artifacts in question are decorative objects with no technological purpose. If such technology existed, our civilizations would have discovered it thousands of years ago. We recommend the human researcher focus on more practical studies. Elena stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it and went back to work. She did not care what the aliens thought. She knew what she had found was real. She would prove it to herself first, and then she would prove it to the galaxy. Elena spent the next month building a small device based on the equations in the crystals. The device was no bigger than a coffee cup, but it required all of her skill as an engineer to build it. She had to use parts from her station's life support system and navigation computer. If the device did not work, she might not have enough spare parts to fix what she had taken apart. The device was designed to create a small hole in space-time. Elena called it a dimensional gateway. If her understanding of the equations was correct, she could use the gateway to move objects from one place to another instantly without crossing the space in between. Elena decided to test the device on something small and unimportant. She chose a coffee mug that had a chip in its handle. She placed the mug on one side of her lab and aimed the device at it. Then she walked to the other side of the lab and activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air shimmered like heat rising from hot pavement. The coffee mug disappeared from the first table and appeared on the second table where Elena was standing. It happened so fast that Elena almost missed it. Elena picked up the mug with trembling hands. It was the same mug, complete with the chip, in its handle. She had moved it across her lab without it traveling through the space in between. She had created a shortcut through the universe itself. Elena sat down hard in her chair. She had just proven that faster-than-light travel was possible, without the huge energy requirements of jump gates. The jump gates were massive structures that used enormous amounts of power to bend space-time. They were so expensive that only the major alien races could afford to build them. The gates also took months to charge up between uses. Elena's device used a tiny fraction of the energy that jump gates required. With the right modifications, she could make devices that would let anyone travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly. This technology would break the alien race's control over interstellar travel. It would change everything. Elena realized she was in danger. The alien races would not want humans to have this technology. They had built their power on controlling travel between worlds. If anyone could travel instantly without using their jump gates, their empires would collapse. Elena began making copies of all her research. She encrypted the files and prepared to send them to trusted humans throughout the galaxy. She sent messages to Captain Marcus Chen, who commanded a cargo ship called the Wandering Star. She contacted her old teacher, Dr. James Okafor, who now worked on Luna Station near Earth. She also sent a message to her sister Maria, who worked in communications for the human colonial fleet. Elena did not tell them everything in her messages. She could not risk the aliens intercepting the communications. Instead, she used a code she had arranged with each of them years ago. The code would tell them that she had made an important discovery and that they should be ready to help her, if she needed it. After sending the messages, Elena looked out the window of her station at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light were the homeworlds of the alien races that thought humans were too primitive to matter. Soon, those aliens would learn that they had badly underestimated humanity. Elena smiled as she began planning her next experiment. This time, she would move something much bigger than a coffee mug. Elena spent 3 weeks building a much larger version of her dimensional gateway device. This new machine filled half of her laboratory and required most of her station's power to operate. She had to shut down non-essential systems like heating and artificial gravity to give the device enough energy. The floating feeling of zero gravity did not bother Elena. She had grown up on mining ships where artificial gravity was a luxury they could not always afford. As she worked on the machine, she felt excited about what she might discover. The small test with the coffee mug had proven the basic theory was correct. Now she wanted to see how far the technology could reach. Elena decided to test the device by sending a probe to Earth's solar system. The probe was a small robot about the size of a basketball. It contained cameras and sensors that would let Elena know if the transport had worked correctly. The journey from Elena's station to Earth normally took 3 months using commercial jump routes. If her device worked, the probe would arrive instantly. Elena programmed the coordinates for Earth's location into her machine. She double-checked her calculations 3 times. A mistake could send the probe anywhere in the galaxy or destroy it completely. When she was satisfied that everything was correct, she placed the probe in the machine's transport chamber. Elena took a deep breath and activated the device. The machine hummed loudly, and the lights in her station dimmed as it drew power. Energy patterns danced across the transport chamber like lightning trapped in a bottle. Then, suddenly, the probe was gone. Elena quickly switched to her communication system. If the probe had arrived safely near Earth, it would automatically send a signal back to her station. She waited, counting the seconds. After exactly 12 seconds, her radio crackled to life. "Probe 7 to Kepler's Dream," the mechanical voice said. "Transport successful. Current location confirmed as Earth orbit. All systems functioning normally." Elena laughed out loud. She had just sent an object from the edge of human space to the center of human civilization in 12 seconds. The same journey took commercial ships 3 months. Her device had not just moved the probe quickly, it had moved the probe instantly through a shortcut in space-time itself. But Elena was not satisfied with just moving small objects. The equations in the progenitor crystals suggested much greater possibilities. She spent the next week studying the mathematical patterns more carefully. What she found amazed her even more than the original discovery. The progenitor equations did not just describe faster-than-light travel. They described ways to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. With the right application, the technology could be used to move entire buildings or even planets. It could create unlimited energy by tapping into the fundamental forces of the universe. It could even affect how time moved in small areas of space. Elena realized that the progenitors had not just been an advanced civilization. They had learned to reshape the universe according to their will. The crystals were not just storage devices for mathematical formulas. They were textbooks left behind by a race of beings who had transcended the normal limitations of physical existence. Elena decided to attempt something that would prove her technology worked on a large scale. She would move her entire research station from its current location to the far side of the galaxy. The journey would normally take years, even using the fastest jump gates. Elena planned to make the trip in seconds. She spent a week preparing for the test. She had to modify her device to create a gateway large enough for the entire station. She also had to be very careful with the coordinates. A small mistake could place her station inside a star or in the empty space between galaxies. Elena chose a location near a small red star that her astronomical charts showed was uninhabited. The star was so far from her current position that she would need a powerful telescope to even see its light. It was the perfect place to test her device without being detected by alien patrol ships. On the day of the test, Elena secured everything in her station that might move during transport. She did not know what the journey through the dimensional gateway would feel like. She strapped herself into her command chair and began the activation sequence. The machine built up power much more slowly this time. Moving an entire space station required far more energy than moving a small probe. Elena watched her power readings carefully. The station's nuclear reactor was running at maximum output, but it was barely enough to run the device. After 10 minutes of charging, the machine was ready. Elena's hands shook as she reached for the final activation switch. She was about to attempt something no human had ever done before. If she was wrong about the technology, she might destroy herself and her station. If she was right, she would prove that humans could master technology that the greatest alien civilizations had never imagined. Elena flipped the switch. The universe seemed to turn inside out around her. For a moment that felt like forever. Elena existed in a space that was not really space. She saw colors that had no names and felt directions that did not exist in normal reality. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the sensation stopped. Elena looked out her station's windows and gasped. The view had completely changed. Instead of the familiar star patterns she had seen for months, she now saw a different part of the galaxy. A small red star hung nearby, casting its dim light on her station. She had succeeded. She had moved her entire research station across the galaxy in a matter of seconds. Elena quickly checked her instruments to confirm her location. The readings matched her calculations perfectly. She was now farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled. She had also proven that her dimensional gateway technology could move objects of any size across any distance almost instantly. But Elena's success did not go unnoticed. The energy signature created by moving her space station was enormous. Monitoring. Stations throughout the galaxy detected the strange readings. Most dismissed them as equipment malfunctions, but some began to investigate. A Nexari sensor array near Elena's original location registered the disappearance of her station. The readings made no sense to the Nexari scientists. Space stations did not simply vanish, leaving behind only exotic radiation patterns. They reported the anomaly to their superiors, who reported it to the Galactic Council. Elena did not know about the detection yet. She was too busy studying the readings from her successful test. The data showed that her device had created a stable tunnel through space-time. The tunnel had existed for only a fraction of a second, but during that time, it had connected two points thousands of light years apart. Elena began planning her next test. She wanted to see if she could create multiple gateways at the same time. If she could, she might be able to create a network of instant transportation links between human colonies. Such a network would revolutionize human civilization and break the alien race's stranglehold on interstellar commerce. As Elena worked late into the night, she did not notice the bright flashes of light in the distance. 3 Zephyrian patrol ships had just arrived at her station's former location using emergency jump drives. They found nothing but empty space and radiation readings their science could not explain. The patrol leader immediately contacted the Galactic Council to report the mysterious disappearance. Elena's breakthrough had been noticed. The hunt was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place in the Great Crystal Chamber on Nexus Prime, the political center of the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of worlds attended, but only 3 voices mattered: the speakers for the Zephyrian Empire, the Nexari Collective, and the Vorthak Hegemony. Technarch HFY stood at the center of the chamber, his tall blue form casting long shadows under the bright lights. His large eyes showed concern as he addressed the assembly. Around him, hundreds of alien beings listened in growing alarm. "The human research station has completely vanished," HFY announced. "Our patrol ships found no debris, no distress signals, nothing to explain its disappearance. The only evidence is exotic radiation that our best scientists cannot identify." Collective Mind Nexara, speaking for the Nexari, added her thoughts through the translation system. Her insect-like form clicked and buzzed as she communicated. "Our sensor networks detected the energy signature across multiple star systems. The readings suggest technology beyond our current understanding." Ancient root Vorthek of the Vorthak made a deep rumbling sound that translated as extreme displeasure. His tree-like form swayed slowly as he spoke. "In 10,000 years of space travel, we have seen nothing like these energy patterns. This suggests either a catastrophic accident or the development of unknown technology." The 3 powers quickly reached an agreement. All human researchers would be detained immediately for protective questioning. Official Zephyrian patrol ships would search for the missing station. If the humans had developed dangerous technology, it had to be contained before it could spread. But the aliens had made a critical mistake. They did not understand how human society really worked. While the major alien races lived in rigid hierarchies with clear command structures, humans had developed something very different during their centuries in space: human colonies and research. Stations were connected by an informal network of family relationships, friendships, and mutual aid agreements. News traveled through this network faster than official communications. Elena's coded messages had already reached their targets. Captain Marcus Chen received his message while loading cargo at a space station near the Zephyrian border. He immediately changed his flight plan and began visiting human settlements to spread the warning. Dr. James Okafor got Elena's message at Luna Station and started making discreet inquiries among his colleagues. Maria Vasquez, working at Colonial Fleet Headquarters, began monitoring alien military communications. The warning spread from person to person through the human network. Cargo pilots talked to miners. Miners talked to their families on distant colonies. Families sent messages to friends and relatives on research stations. Within days, humans throughout the galaxy knew that something important was happening and that they might be in danger. When the first Zephyrian patrol ships arrived at human settlements, they found many of them strangely empty. Research stations that should have held dozens of scientists contained only essential staff. Families had suddenly decided to visit relatives on distant worlds. Important equipment had been moved for routine maintenance. Elena, hidden near the Red Star where she had moved her station, continued working on her technology. She had decoded more of the progenitor equations and made an amazing discovery. The AI, ancient aliens, had not just developed faster-than-light travel. They had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe itself. The equations described ways to create unlimited energy by tapping into the quantum fluctuations of empty space. They showed how to strengthen the atomic bonds in materials, making them thousands of times stronger than normal. They even contained formulas for affecting how quickly time moved in specific areas. Elena realized that the progenitors had not disappeared. They had evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. The crystals were not just storage devices. They were tests left behind for any civilization advanced enough to decode them. The progenitors had been waiting millions of years for a species, curious enough to ask the right questions and stubborn enough to find the answers. Elena began sharing her new discoveries with selected humans throughout the galaxy. She sent encrypted files to Dr. Okafor on Luna Station and to her sister Maria in the Colonial Fleet. She also transmitted data to Captain Chen, who had begun coordinating the evacuation of human researchers. The technology proved remarkably adaptable to human innovation. Where the progenitor texts described massive installations requiring rare materials, human engineers found ways to build smaller devices using common metals and salvaged components. Human mechanics, used to fixing broken equipment with whatever parts they could find, quickly learned to modify the alien technology for their specific needs. Dr. Okafor made the first breakthrough in adapting the technology for defensive purposes. Working in a hidden laboratory beneath Luna's surface, he built a device that could move Luna Station itself. When Nexari ships arrived to arrest him, they found empty space where the station should have been. The disappearance of Luna Station sent shock waves through the Galactic Council. Luna Station was one of humanity's most important research facilities, home to thousands of scientists and their families. Its vanishing proved that whatever technology the humans had developed was far more advanced than anyone had imagined. Captain Chen achieved the next success. His cargo ship, the Wandering Star, had always been considered slow and unreliable by alien standards, but with Elena's dimensional gateway technology installed, it could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Chen began using his ship to evacuate human researchers and their families from worlds where alien forces were closing in. The alien military commanders found themselves fighting an enemy they could not understand. Human ships appeared from nowhere, completed their missions, and vanished again before alien forces could respond. Human research stations that seemed defenseless suddenly relocated themselves to safe positions. Mining colonies thought to be isolated revealed themselves as coordinated elements of a vast defensive network. Maria Vasquez, monitoring alien communications from her position in the colonial fleet, realized that panic was spreading through the alien governments. Their military doctrine was based on controlling strategic jump points and maintaining supply lines. Against an enemy that could appear anywhere without using jump gates, their traditional advantages meant nothing. The Zephyrians tried to blockade human space, but humans simply appeared behind their blockade lines. The Nexari attempted to trace human communications, but found that messages were being delivered instantly across impossible distances. The Vorthak deployed their most advanced sensor networks, but could not predict where humans would appear next. Elena watched these developments from her hidden station with mixed feelings. She had wanted to share the progenitor technology with all of galactic civilization, but the alien races had forced her people into a defensive war. Now humans throughout the galaxy were using the technology to protect themselves from persecution. Elena made a difficult decision. She sent a final message to all human communities in the galaxy. The message was simple: gather your strength, protect your people, and prepare for the next phase. The aliens had started this conflict by trying to suppress human advancement. Now Elena would show them the true power of the technology they had dismissed. Elena began working on her most ambitious project yet. She would bring together all the scattered human forces and reveal the full potential of the progenitor legacy. The aliens thought they were hunting a few scattered researchers with stolen technology. They were about to learn that they were facing a transformed human civilization with capabilities beyond their wildest fears. The cargo ship Wandering Star materialized in empty space near the mining colony of New Pittsburgh. Captain Marcus Chen checked his instruments and smiled. The dimensional gateway device that Elena's team had installed in his ship worked perfectly. He had just traveled 300 light-years in less than a second. Chen opened a communication channel to the mining colony. "This is Captain Chen requesting immediate evacuation assistance. We have incoming Nexari ships in approximately 6 hours. The response came quickly. "Understood, Captain. We're ready to move. How many ships do you have?" "Just mine," Chen replied. "But don't worry, we'll get everyone out." The miners had good reason to be concerned. New Pittsburgh was home to 15,000 people, including families with small children. Chen's ship could normally carry only 200 passengers, but Elena's technology had changed the rules of space travel completely. Chen activated his ship's new cargo transport system. It used a modified version of Elena's dimensional gateway to create a temporary storage space that existed outside normal reality. The storage space could hold thousands of people in safety while taking up no room in the ship itself. Over the next 4 hours, Chen made dozens of trips between his ship and the colony. Each time, he transported hundreds of miners and their families into the dimensional storage space. To the people being transported, the journey felt like stepping through a doorway. One moment, they were standing in their homes on New Pittsburgh, and the next, they were in a comfortable holding area that seemed to exist nowhere at all. When the Nexari ships finally arrived at New Pittsburgh, they found empty buildings and deserted mining equipment. The entire population had vanished without a trace. The Nexari commander was forced to report another impossible disappearance to his superiors. Similar scenes played out across human space. Dr. James Okafor, working from his hidden laboratory beneath Luna, coordinated the evacuation of 17 research stations. His team had learned to build portable dimensional gateways that could move entire buildings in a single transport. Research facilities that had taken years to construct disappeared overnight, reappearing in safe locations thousands of light-years away. Maria Vasquez used her position in the Colonial Fleet Communication Center to intercept alien military messages. What she learned was both encouraging and frightening. The alien forces were growing more desperate as their traditional military advantages proved useless, but their desperation was making them more dangerous. "They're planning something big," Maria reported during a secure communication with Elena. "Zephyrian High Command is calling up reserve fleets from their home worlds. The Nexari are activating warrior drones that they haven't used in centuries. The Vorthak are awakening their ancient war trees." Elena listened to her sister's report from her hidden station. She had spent the last month building new devices based on the progenitor equations. Each discovery led to more amazing possibilities. The ancient aliens had not just mastered space and time, they had learned to manipulate the fundamental laws of physics themselves. "It doesn't matter how many ships they bring," Elena told Maria. "We're not fighting the same kind of war they understand. Send word to all human communities. It's time to reveal what we've really accomplished." Throughout human space, families and communities that had seemed to vanish completely began to reappear. But they were no longer scattered and defenseless. The months of hiding had been used to organize and prepare. Human civilization had transformed itself into something the galaxy had never seen before. The mining colony of New Pittsburgh reappeared, but not in its original location. Chen had moved the entire settlement to a rich asteroid field in unexplored space. The colony now had access to mineral resources worth more than most planetary economies. More importantly, it could relocate itself instantly if threatened. Dr. Okafor's Luna station materialized in orbit around a beautiful blue world that humans had never seen before. The station's scientists had discovered the planet using progenitor sensing technology. It was perfect for human life, with clean air, fresh water, and no intelligent native life to disturb. Luna Station had become the first outpost of a new, human colony. Elena made her most dramatic revelation near the galactic core, where the highest concentration of alien civilizations could observe what happened. She created a massive dimensional gateway that opened like a flower made of light and energy. Through the gateway came dozens of human ships and stations that had been thought lost. But these were not the same ships and stations that had disappeared. Months of work with progenitor technology had changed them completely. Human engineers had learned to strengthen materials at the atomic level, making their ships nearly indestructible. Human scientists had solved the energy problem by tapping directly into the quantum fluctuations of empty space. Human families had built communities that could exist comfortably in the space between dimensions. The alien monitoring stations detected energy signatures that broke their instruments. Ships appeared that were larger than space stations. Structures materialized that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Most shocking of all, human settlements appeared that were clearly thriving despite having no visible means of support. Elena's voice reached every alien government simultaneously. Through a communication method that bypassed all known technology, she appeared as a hologram in the Galactic Council chambers, in the private offices of alien leaders, and in the command centers of alien military fleets. "Greetings to all civilizations," Elena said calmly. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, speaking for the human collective. For the past year, you have hunted us because we discovered technology that you claimed was impossible. You tried to suppress our research because you feared it would threaten your power. Today, we show you the results of your persecution." Elena gestured, and images appeared showing the transformed human communities. "We did not want this conflict. We offered to share our discoveries with all civilizations. Instead, you chose to see us as a threat to be eliminated. Your actions have unified humanity and forced us to develop our full potential." The images showed human settlements that had solved problems the major alien races still struggled with. Energy was unlimited and free. Travel between any 2 points in the galaxy was instant and effortless. Materials could be created or modified at will using principles the aliens did not understand. "We offer you one final chance for peace," Elena continued. "End your military actions against human communities immediately. Withdraw your fleets to your home territories. Accept that the galaxy has changed and that humanity will no longer be treated as junior partners in galactic civilization." Technarch Zeph High rose from his seat in the Galactic Council chambers. His blue face showed the strain of the past months of military failures. "And if we refuse your demands?" he asked. Elena's expression did not change. "Then you will learn what the progenitors discovered long ago. The universe belongs to those with the wisdom to unlock its secrets and the courage to use them responsibly. You had millions of years to make these discoveries yourselves. Instead, you built your civilizations on controlling others through scarcity and fear." Elena's hologram faded, leaving the alien leaders to contemplate their choice. Around the galaxy, human communities waited to see how their former oppressors would respond. Some humans hoped for peace. Others prepared for a war that would reshape the galaxy forever. The aliens now faced a terrible realization. They had not been fighting a few human rebels with stolen technology. They had been fighting against human civilization itself, transformed by access to the universe's deepest secrets. The scattered mining colonies and research stations they had dismissed as unimportant had become something far more dangerous, a unified human society that had transcended the limitations that bound all other races. The response from the alien governments came within hours of Elena's ultimatum, and it was not what humanity had hoped for. Instead of accepting the new reality, the three major powers declared a state of galactic emergency. They announced the formation of the Trinitarian War Council, uniting their forces under a single command for the first time in their history. Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Navy, a veteran of a dozen interstellar wars, took command of the combined fleet. His message to all alien worlds was broadcast across the galaxy. The human rebellion threatens the stability of galactic civilization. All member worlds must contribute ships and resources to contain this threat before it spreads beyond human space. Elena received the news while standing in the control room of her research station. Around her, displays showed the movement of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Thousands of ships were converging on human territories from every direction. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Dr. James Okafor's voice reached Elena through their secure communication system. Elena, they're bringing everything they have. Our scouts count over 50,000 ships in the combined fleet. They're not planning to negotiate. They want to destroy us completely. Elena studied the tactical displays for a long moment. Then she smiled, and her expression was not entirely pleasant. James, send word to all human communities. It's time to show the galaxy what the progenitors really left behind. Elena activated a device she had built based on the deepest secrets of the progenitor crystals. The device did not transport matter or energy. Instead, it sent a signal across a network that had been waiting dormant for millions of years. Throughout the galaxy, ancient progenitor installations began to awaken. On the capital world of the Zephyrian Empire, the crystal towers that had been tourist attractions for centuries began to glow with inner light. Similar structures activated on Nexari worlds and in the ancient forests of the Vorthak home planets. The alien governments had built their greatest cities around progenitor ruins, never realizing they were sitting on top of the most advanced technology in the universe. Elena's voice reached every world in the galaxy simultaneously, carried by the awakened progenitor network. But this time, she was not alone. Hundreds of other humans appeared as holograms beside her, representing communities throughout human space. Citizens of the galaxy, Elena began, the alien governments have chosen war over peace. They prefer to destroy rather than accept change. But they have made a critical error. They assume they are fighting against human technology. They are not. They are fighting against the will of the progenitors themselves. The hologram displays showed what was happening on alien worlds. The awakened progenitor structures were not weapons. They were teachers. Citizens throughout the galaxy were receiving direct downloads of knowledge and understanding. For the first time in their lives, ordinary beings could see the mathematical beauty underlying the universe. They could understand the principles that Elena had discovered in the crystals. On the Zephyrian homeworld, a young technician named Zeth Ali stood before one of the glowing towers. As the knowledge flowed into her mind, she finally understood why the human discoveries had been possible. The progenitors had designed their ruins as tests, waiting for a civilization brave enough to look beyond surface appearances and ask deeper questions. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Nexari workers realized that their collective intelligence had been focused too narrowly on practical problems, missing the broader patterns that connected all knowledge. Vorthak scholars discovered that their ancient wisdom traditions contained fragments of progenitor teaching that they had never fully understood. The awakening knowledge created immediate problems for the alien governments. Citizens began asking uncomfortable questions. Why had their leaders dismissed the human discoveries instead of investigating them? Why were they preparing for war instead of seeking to understand the new technology? Why had centuries of scientific advancement failed? To uncover secrets that one human researcher had found in a few months, Admiral Kethvar watched his carefully planned military campaign fall apart before it could begin. Ship crews reported that their vessels' navigation systems were being overridden by unknown signals. Instead of moving toward human territories, the ships found themselves transported to safe positions far from any potential conflict. The progenitor network was actively preventing the war from starting. Elena appeared again, this time in the private chambers of the alien leaders. Technarch HFY, Collective Mind Nexara, and Ancient Root Vorthek faced her together for the first time since the crisis began. "Your military solution has failed before it could begin," Elena told them calmly. "The progenitors built safeguards into their technology to prevent it from being used for conquest or oppression. They learned from their own mistakes millions of years ago." Vorthek's ancient voice carried deep sadness as he responded. "We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. Our civilizations have brought order and stability to countless worlds. Are you saying it was all meaningless?" Elena's expression softened slightly. "Not meaningless, but incomplete. The progenitors discovered something that your civilizations never learned. True advancement comes from cooperation, not domination. They left their technology as a gift, but only for civilizations mature enough to share it freely with others." Nexara's compound thoughts focused into a single question. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing that you should not want for yourselves," Elena replied. "An end to the artificial scarcity that keeps worlds dependent on your jump gate networks. An end to the monopolies that prevent younger civilizations from developing their full potential. An end to the idea that some species are naturally superior to others." Elena gestured, and new images appeared around them. These showed the galaxy as it could be. Worlds connected by instant transportation available to everyone, unlimited energy ending forever, the conflicts over resources, knowledge shared freely among all civilizations. The progenitors transcended physical existence because they learned to value knowledge and cooperation above power and control, Elena explained. They left their legacy for any civilization ready to make the same choice. Humanity was not special. We were simply desperate enough to keep looking when others gave up. HFY studied the images for a long time before speaking. "And if we agree to these changes, what happens to our civilizations? Our way of life?" "They evolve," Elena said, simply. "The same way humanity had to evolve when we discovered we were not alone in the universe. Change is painful, but it is also the only path to growth." Over the following days, the three alien leaders consulted with their governments and their people. The awakened progenitor knowledge was spreading rapidly through their populations. Citizens who had never questioned their leaders' decisions were now demanding explanations for centuries of scientific stagnation. The first to accept the new reality was surprisingly Ancient Root Vorthek of the Vorthok. His people had always valued wisdom above power, and the progenitor revelations resonated with their deepest cultural beliefs. The Vorthak announced they would share all their scientific knowledge freely with any civilization that requested it. The Nexari took longer to decide, but their collective intelligence eventually reached the logical conclusion. Fighting against technology they did not understand was futile. Better to learn from it and find ways to adapt their society to the new realities. They agreed to dismantle their information monopolies and allow free access to their data networks. The Zephyrians held out the longest, but even they could not ignore the will of their own people. When Technarch HFY finally accepted Elena's terms, he did so with dignity. "Perhaps," he said, "it is time for our empire to become something greater than an empire." Elena stood in the restored progenitor archive, now relocated to orbit a young star that would serve as the new galactic capital. Representatives from hundreds of species were arriving to establish the framework for galactic government that would serve all civilizations equally. Many of the representatives were from species that the major powers had barely acknowledged. The transformation of galactic society was revealing civilizations that had been overlooked or suppressed for millennia. Elena realized that humanity's struggle had opened doors for countless others who had been waiting for their chance to contribute. To galactic civilization, Captain Chen docked his ship at the new station and joined Elena at an observation window. Together, they watched ships arriving from every corner of the galaxy. "So what happens now?" he asked. Elena smiled as she watched a ship from a species she had never seen before dock at the station. "Now we find out what the galaxy can become when everyone gets to participate." The progenitors waited millions of years to see if any civilization would be wise enough to pass their test. Humanity succeeded, but only because we were stubborn enough to keep trying when everyone else said it was impossible. She pointed to the progenitor crystals that now formed the heart of the new station. "They left us more than technology, Marcus. They left us a choice. We can use their gifts to become rulers like the old empires, or we can use them to become teachers for everyone who comes after us."